Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. On today's video we're going to be looking at recording audio within our DAW. So when you start recording a sound design session, it's quite common that when recording you start playing with the sound and you start adding effects and you get carried away and you quite often go into the red and you introduce digital clipping into your recording. And how can we fix this? Is there a way to fix this? Well, yes, there is, basically, and this is what we're going to look at today. So let's get right into it. Here we go. So guys, you can see there are a few ideas here. So we're going to be looking at 3 examples today. So we've got 3 different types of sound in order to show you this example. We've got the sound that we made in the last video, which is this 808 sound here. I've also added an effect that I made in Serum. Here we go. And I've also added a little multi-sound here, which is a pad I made. I can't remember whether it's in Vital or Serum, but here's the example here. These are the examples we're going to use to show how we can sort of solve this problem when we run into the red and start digitally clipping. So let's get right into it. Let's have a look first of all at the 808. Here we go. We want to record this, so we're going to set up a channel to record. So now we've got our channel ready to record into. You can do this in any other DAW, set up an audio channel that you can record into directly from inside the DAW. Once this is ready, we just need to select our bitrate. So we're also going to go into the settings. Inside our settings, we're going to go to audio recording. And in the recording, you should have some options as your bit rates for recording. As you can see here, I have recording and bounce options. Mine's already set to 32-bit float, but I'm going to change the recording to start with to 24-bit. You can see there's 3 options, 16-bit, 24-bit, and 32-bit float. So let's start recording at 24-bit. Now, this is a good option to choose generally when recording. You've got plenty of headroom with 24-bit. As long as you give yourself headroom when recording and you keep within that headroom, then you should be fine at 24-bit. The benefit of using 24-bit is that most people are going to accept that and they're not going to have to down sample and go through that whole process later on in post-processing, etc. So it's much better to start off in that if you can. Okay, so let's now go and record this sound. We want to make sure that this 808 is clipping, because at the moment it's just hitting at 0. As you can see, the resampled one. So we just want to make sure it goes really into the red. So I'm going to turn this up by using a tool in Bitwig. This would be a utility in Ableton or any kind of gain plugin that you might have within your DAW. Most DAWs have one. I'm going to turn it right up, all the way up, so it really goes into the red and clips. So here we go. Let's just record this quickly. Okay, so as you can see, I've recorded this. I'm just going to call this one 24-bit. There we go, done. This is 24-bit. Let's move this over here. We're going to do the same thing with this sound again, but we're going to go back into settings and change it to now 32-bit float. Okay, so we're going to also call this 32-bit so we know which is which. Excellent, there we go. We're going to do the same thing for every other sound, so here we go. I'm going to do this very quickly. Okay, cool. So you can see I've mixed everything down here. Now we've got 24-bit and 32-bit recordings of all of these sounds. So we're going to go through now and do a little experiment by looking at what happens to these sounds. Now that they've all clipped, as you can see, we're going to go and turn them all down. Okay, so if we just turn them down, what's going to happen? Let's find out, shall we? Let's do it. So we're going to start by turning down the 24-bit. We're going to start with this sound here. I'm also going to just make this bigger so you can see exactly what happens to the waveform. Okay, so let's just come and bring the volume down to this one, see what happens. So you can see now this is just coming up, coming down in volume. Let's have a listen to it and see what happens. So that's minus 5.4. Sounds really overdriven, really digitally clipped. Okay, let's do the same thing to the 32-bit float now. So let's come over here and do that to this one. Here we go. Okay, you can see something different is happening, right? When I move this one, the wave's changing as well. The waveform is changing, and it's not just coming down in volume. You can see dynamics kind of being restored in this one. So let's listen to this one now and listen to see what happens here. Okay. We compare it to this one. This one is obviously a lot louder. If we compared it to the original preset again, we come back over here and listen. Get rid of this one. And let's compare that to this one now. Okay, so we've kind of lost a lot of that digital clipping that we have over here on this one. Sounds really overdriven. And that one sounds very similar to that one again. Barely any difference, right? So you can see the 32-bit flow has kind of restored this audio signal when we've gone into the red. Whereas the 24-bit, even though I've turned it down, it's not restored the dynamics of the sound. We've still got that horrible clipping and overdriven sound, whereas the 32-bit flow has kind of restored itself, as we saw when we moved the volume down. Not only did it just come down in volume, but all the actual waves started to restore itself with its dynamics, whereas the 24-bit didn't do that. So let's just run the same experiment with a couple of the other sounds. So we're going to do the same thing, let's say, with the effect sound. Here we go. Let's start with the 24-bit and see what happens with this one. So let's turn it down as well. We'll make it bigger actually before we do that very quickly. So there we go, so you can see what's happening. Let's turn it down like we did before, see if anything happens to the actual wave. Not really, it's just getting smaller and smaller, right? Like lower and lower as we bring it down. If we listen to it, what happens to the sound quality? -11, but still sounds pretty overdriven compared to what it did sound if you listen to the original without the tool on it. Let's just get rid of that so we don't blow our ears. Here we go, let's listen to the original. Okay, and then as you can see, this one, really overdriven. Okay, so let's turn the 32-bit down, see what happens. You can see it's very flat here, very overdriven. Let's see what happens, same thing. Here we go, we're starting to restore some of the dynamics. You can see it coming back to life. There we go, excellent. Let's have a listen to this one and see what happens. Bring it down a bit more just to be sure it's not going to clip. Okay, and then we listen to the original one. And then back to this one. So you can see it sounds very similar. One's obviously a little bit louder than the other one, but that's the only difference. So we fixed the problem, right? So we run into the red, we've really driven it very hard, this recording. With 32-bit, we're able to restore the recording, whereas the 24-bit, you can see we can't fix it. It's gone. It's completely gone. Once we've driven it into the red, that's it. There's no bringing that back to life, really. Like I say before, you've got plenty of room with 24-bit if you don't go into the red to start with. So if you're just recording a few things, if you give yourself enough headroom to start with, and you kind of keep things under control and you record it, is a great way to record things. Like saves you, like I say, downsampling later on, saves you that whole process. But if you're doing a sound design session, like I say, within your DAW, and you're just running through different effects and you're playing about, it's very easy to just get really carried away and the volume increases and you start running into the red and you end up with some really cool sounds, but they've all started clipping and it's all ruined. You can't fix it. Well, now you can. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you today, guys, is how you can fix that problem, record properly. So there we go, guys. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. Please subscribe for more things like this, more tips and tricks, plenty more to come. And I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.